90 days from now, you could be running a successful web design business, even if you're starting from zero. The truth is, you don't need years of experience or a fancy degree. You just need the right plan. How do I know? Because a few years ago, I knew nothing about design or development, and within a few months, I was charging thousands of dollars to build websites. So in this video, I'm breaking it all down into the exact 3 30-day sprints that took me from having no clue to getting paid real money to design sites for clients. Are you ready? Let's go. The first 30 days is where I see so many would-be web designers trip up. This right here is the danger zone. What most people do is learn before they even start. So they're on YouTube studying 3 different development languages or figuring out frameworks or different marketing strategies, UX, all before they've even opened a real project for a real person. And at first you're fired up. You're like, this is it, I'm finally doing it. But by day 12, you're overwhelmed. Day 17, you're behind, and day 30, you haven't made much progress at all. That's the failure loop, and it's 100% avoidable. Because the truth is, and this is something almost nobody tells you, you only need 2 tools to start a web design business: a design tool and a build tool. That's it. You don't have to become a front-end engineer before you're allowed to call yourself a web designer. You just need 1 tool to edit images, create graphics, and 1 tool where you can actually build and publish a real website for someone. So don't overthink it. Your first 30 days aren't about mastery. It's about building momentum to keep going. Where it gets tricky is picking the right tools, because they're not all created equal. Some tools are just harder to learn than others. Sure, some of them might do a lot of really cool things, and you might have even heard a lot of folks online swear by one specific platform. But here's the truth. Every tool comes with a learning curve, and the steeper the learning curve, the more likely you are to stall before you even finish a project. At the end of the day, the best tool for you is the one that you actually use. So my encouragement is to start with something that's easy to get up and running without having to take an entire course just to learn what to do. Now let's talk about the tools themselves, because there's a huge range out there. On one end of the spectrum, you've got beginner-friendly tools like Canva or Kittl for design, and then Showit and Squarespace for building websites. These are tools that let you start making right away without having to really struggle with how to do things. On the other end of the spectrum, you've got tools like Photoshop or Illustrator for design, and then on the website side, you've got Webflow and custom WordPress themes. These are super powerful, and honestly, one day you might get to the point where these are perfect for you. But at first, they take time to learn and will take a ton of willpower and effort to see through. So what you're really looking for is a sweet spot, a tool that has powerful features so you have room to grow as your skills improve, but is also simple enough to get running on day 1. And for design, that tool is definitely Kittl. Kittl is the perfect middle ground. It lets you do most of what you'd use Photoshop or Illustrator for, but the learning curve is nowhere near as steep. You can jump in and start creating right away. Tools like Canva might make things super simple, but they're sometimes limited, especially the more tweaking that you want to make. Kittl gives you much more room to grow. You can actually edit images and create vector objects, which is a huge deal when you're designing icons, logos, or illustrations that need to scale clearly across your website. Plus, they got a really cool feature where you can add mockups to any past websites that you've done. Staying up to date with your portfolio is like an Achilles heel for every web designer. It feels impossible. This makes that much easier. If you want to try it out, I'll drop a link in the description. You get 25% off if you use my link. But seriously, Kittl is absolutely worth checking it out if you're learning web design. Now that you got your design tool figured out, it's time to land on a build tool. And hear me when I say, you do not need to know code to build a thriving web design business. And I know this might get me in hot water with some folks out there, but listen, I know so many web designers that don't know the first thing about development, but have multi-6-figure businesses. Yes, coding can help, but your best bet, especially when you're first getting started, is to pick a web builder that just works. But sometimes picking the right platform can be confusing or even stressful because there's so many options out there. And I found that there are really 3 things that you need to make sure you find in your web builder before you go with it. First, it needs to make sense to you. You don't have to master it on day one, but you should at least understand the basics after poking around just a few times. If you feel totally lost every time you open it, it's probably not the right fit right now. Second, it should have solid templates to start with. It's not a great idea to build from scratch right away. Remember, your goal in the first 30 days is momentum, not mastery. So starting with a pre-built template lets you focus on getting that momentum that you need instead of spending hours wrestling with structure or worrying about things like type-scale systems. Then finally, it needs room to grow. What do I mean by that? You gotta choose something that can scale with you. As your skills improve and your clients' needs evolve, you're gonna want the ability to add features or expand functionality or even connect to advanced tools later on. And that's why I love Showit. It hits all 3 points perfectly. But Showit isn't perfect for everybody. So try out different options and see what's right for you. But at some point, you gotta stop researching and just pick one. You don't get better by endlessly learning what's out there. You get better by actually building things. Don't worry about whether it's the perfect choice. It might not be. And that honestly doesn't matter. What matters is that you start developing an eye for what good web design looks like and how to get what's in your brain out to the real world. And hey, if after your first 90 days, you decide to go a different route, that's okay. But you won't ever know until you just go for it and start building projects. But there's another piece of the puzzle that gets neglected, and it can completely derail your 90-day progress if you miss it. You might be watching this video already knowing which tools you're going to use. You've picked your design platform and you've picked your builder. Maybe even played around with a few test projects, but you still can't seem to make any forward progress. And that's probably because you're trying to stay internally motivated. The truth is, becoming a web designer and building a business takes work. It's exciting at first, but that early motivation always fades. And when the only thing pushing you forward is the excitement you had a few weeks ago, it just doesn't last. Why? Because you don't have anyone expecting you to follow through. And when the only person you're accountable to is future you turns out to be extremely chill about deadlines. That's why at the same time that you're learning those tools, you need to also be looking for your first client. That client is the external motivation that's gonna keep you moving forward when you hit that "I have no idea what I'm doing" wall. Suddenly, you're not just learning Showit, you're trying to get someone's hero section done by Thursday, and that makes a huge difference. So the framework for becoming a legit web designer in 90 days is simple. Spend the first 30 days learning your tools, and then the second 30 days finding a client. If you only learn the tools but never talk to anyone, you're gonna stall. But if you only talk to people and never learn how to deliver, you're gonna panic, it's gonna create a lot of stress, and you might give up. You actually need both at the same time. But who's going to trust you to build a website without any experience or a portfolio? Let's talk about that, because this is where everybody overcomplicates it. There's a lot of ways to find clients, and just like your design and build tools, those methods range from really hard to a lot easier. Over on the absolute hardest side of the options is reaching out to people that you don't know. So cold calls, cold DMs, cold emails. And you'll see this advice all over YouTube. DM your way to a 6-figure agency. Send 100 messages a day until someone says yes. And technically, sure, that can work. But it's brutal. You could send hundreds, even thousands of messages before you ever hear back from someone. And that doesn't even mean they're gonna hire you. But there's hope, my friend, and a much easier way of doing things. And it's all about relationships. Start with people who already know you or who are a few degrees away from knowing you. Your first site doesn't have to be for your best friend or your sister. It could be someone connected to that person who can make that connection a little bit more naturally. Because when someone already knows you, even just a little bit, they're far more likely to trust you. So here's the plan. Write down a list of 100 people that you know and recruit them to be your little referral army. See if these people know anyone or has a business that's just getting started, or maybe an idea that they haven't gotten off the ground. And if they don't know anybody, that's okay. Ask them to be on the lookout for someone who does. I heard Gary Vee say that if you just went through every contact in your phone and told them what you were doing, you'd probably have enough leads to start a business. By the way, I outline this exact process in another video, and I give you some free resources to make it easier, so go check that out. But here's the thing, you're not looking for a $5,000 client within the first month of you getting started. Like, let's just take that pressure off right now. You need to find a real specific person. And if you go after big companies right out of the gate, you're gonna hit a wall because they've got budgets, processes, and expectations that'll crush your confidence before you ever get started. Instead, you want someone with three things. First, they might not have a ton of money to pay someone else, so they couldn't hire somebody who has a decade worth of experience. Second, they don't have a ton of time or maybe patience to learn how to do it themselves. And then finally, they trust you, or at least they trust someone who trusts you. That's the kind of person who's going to be highly motivated to let you take a shot. This is exactly how I landed my first client. A friend messaged me and told me they heard a mutual connection say their website was down, they didn't have a lot of money to fix it, and couldn't figure it out themselves. So, bingo, this hits all three qualifiers. And guess what? This kept working for a very, very long time. I didn't even have my own website for like the first 6 months of starting my web design business. Every project I got came from relationships, people I already knew or those people introduced me to. And all it took was a willingness to say yes and then figure it out along the way. That's how you build momentum, not by being perfect, but by being available. But here's the thing, you shouldn't, and honestly can't, promise your first client the world. You need to be realistic about what you're actually able to do right now. It's so easy to let excitement take over, and if you're not careful, you're gonna say yes to things that are way outside your current skill level. And that's the fastest way to get stressed, stuck, discouraged, and quit. So from the very beginning, you need to set clear expectations. Be upfront with your client about what this project will and won't include. You're not building custom features, you're not writing original code, you're not even starting from scratch. Make sure your client knows that the features that can be included are the ones already native in the platform that you're working with. And you're working from templates, you're not building from scratch. If you share all of this with the client, that actually is going to build trust. And when they understand exactly what they're getting, they're gonna be thrilled with the final result instead of expecting something that you were never meant to deliver. And I know the fear is that if you put all of these limitations into the mix, they're not gonna be willing to work with you. But I've actually found that people are more willing to work with you if you're just honest about where you're at. But here's where a lot of people get it wrong in this stage. They think, well, I'm brand new, maybe I can't do everything the client wants me to, so I should probably just do this for free. And I get the heart behind that. There's a fear to ask for anything in return because after all, you don't even know if you'll be able to deliver what they need. But here's the problem with that. If neither you or your client actually has any skin in the game, you're still going to struggle to stay motivated to finish this thing. The client won't take it seriously. You're gonna start to resent them. And all of a sudden, what was supposed to be your big confidence boost becomes a half-finished website just gathering dust. Even if they can't pay you a lot or at all, right? They still need to give you something. There needs to be some kind of exchange that happens, but there's a lot of options for that. You could do a service for a service, like building a photographer's website in exchange for a photo shoot for your own site. Or maybe you agree that once you finish their site, they're gonna introduce you to 10 other people who might need a website too. Not just names, not just emails, actual personal introductions. The point isn't the dollar amount, it's that both of you have something invested. I have a friend who built a site in exchange for a pair of high-end hair clippers, right? I got a $100 Amazon gift card for that first site for a friend. You just need something that shows you're both in this. And once you find that person, it's time to get to work. You spent the first 30 days just kind of getting familiar and picking the tools that you're gonna use. The next 30 days was all about finding a client. And that last 30 days is for actually building the site. And you might think that 30 days is way too much time to finish a site, especially if it's a simple one. But I can almost guarantee you that that first website is gonna take way more effort than you expect. You're gonna spend hours just struggling with layouts, and then even more hours Googling and making small tweaks, and then a hefty amount of time hitting a wall, asking yourself whether you made the right decision. But when it's done, when that site finally goes live, you're gonna have so much excitement. And you'll also be shocked at how many doors it opens. And even better news is, with every new client that you take on, you're gonna keep building momentum. You're gonna add skills, right? You're gonna figure out how to do things that seemed really intimidating at first. And that's gonna make you more confident and more creative with every single project. Then one day, you're gonna look back on that first 90 days and realize just how far you've come. Because the truth is, you don't need years of experience to become a legit web designer. You just need focus, consistency, and one real client to get the ball rolling. So pick those tools, find that client, and start that project. But as time goes on, you're gonna realize something. If you really want to level up, if you wanna start charging more, finishing faster, and feeling really confident with every new client, it's not just about your design skills, it's about your process. Because the biggest thing that separates the pros from the newbies isn't how good their websites look, it's how smooth their process is. And thankfully, I've got a video that walks you through my exact process for building a website that I've built over years and years of doing this. And I'm gonna show you that step by step. Even comes with a free Trello template so that you can plug in your own workflow today. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and like this video. Don't forget, if you don't quit, you win.